Hello, everybody, and welcome to our first IWC radio show in the new year 2020. It's been a while since we did one of these. I think this might be our first New Year's Day type of shows ever. Joining me this evening, the lovely co host to the show, Chucks and Will. How's it going?
I'm good. This is our first ever show on a Wednesday.
Yeah, I can't remember ever doing a show on Wednesday, to be honest with you. Yeah.
So yeah,
I think it might even be the first we've ever done on a week. Have we done a Friday show? I think it might be our first ever weekday show on the show.
I don't think we've done Fridays before.
Right.
But yeah.
Yeah,
our first Wednesday.
New Year, so we may as well do a
New Year, new show.
New Year, new show. Look back on the last decade of everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you got any corks to pop? Boom,
oh!
There you go.
Oh!
Didn't expect
How was
that.
I definitely did not. I like how you set me up for it. I was going to say no, and then you just did it anyway. All right.
Yeah, no, I didn't think it was going to pop like that.
Perfect. Was that actually shit? Was that a little bit of the bubbly?
It's a little bit of the bubbly. I had a bottle of Bucks Fizz, no less,
Wow.
which I actually opened last night, and there's still a bit left. So I kind of crammed the cork back in, and then it, I don't know. Apparently, there's still some bubbles left in there because it
Still fizzing, nice.
it took the light out.
Well, actually, a little bit of the bubbly.
It is a little bit of the bubbly, also a little bit of orange juice.
Oh, I bet that's good.
It's okay.
All right, well, okay.
Probably not as good as the actual bubbly. I've heard that's actually quite nice.
I don't like champagne.
No, not do I. But
I had
I kind of want to try the Jericho one.
No, right.
I would
Not different.
if somebody offered it to me as like a sip, like here, sip this, try it. I would give it a try.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever had champagne, but I've been told the sparkling grape juice is kind of like champagne.
It's basically the same thing.
Yeah.
Champagne just tastes a little bit. I don't know, just worse.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
You've never had champagne?
Never. No.
Never been to a wedding? I mean,
No.
really?
No.
God.
I don't really drink anyway, but you get offered it at Christmas or whatever. I'd rather have water. That sounds really boring.
I generally agree.
Right away. Have you guys made any resolutions for the new year or the decade?
To continue as I was doing last year.
You were perfect last year.
I was.
Why change anything?
Absolutely perfect.
Flawless, yeah. I don't know if I set any resolutions for me. Other than just like do better, you know?
Well,
Just do better. Get your subscriber count up.
Yeah. Yeah.
never really bothered with resolutions.
Yeah, me neither. I've never really like set forth to commit them, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, anything you promise to do, you forget about by 2 days later. So
Yeah. Yeah.
you're only annoying yourself then. So.
Yeah, no, I think with everybody like up in arms about the Peloton bike ad over here, I think resolutions have kind of like flown under the radar for this year, for this upcoming year, I should say. But
What's this?
That
I
bad,
missed
there
this.
was actually like outrage about the ad.
people were upset because like it made it seem like, hey, what's a perfect gift for your significant other? Oh, an exercise bike, because you're totally not telling them that they're fat or anything.
I thought it was kind of the opposite, that the woman in the ad is already, she looks great.
Yeah.
And then it shows her doing Peloton for a year and she looks exactly the same.
There's also that too.
So that works then.
I guess.
Oh man.
We have a different version of the ad here where it's just people doing it. And the same thing happens. It's all people who are in great shape anyway.
Yeah.
Which I guess is supposed to make us think that it works.
Yeah. I don't know.
Fine, I guess. There's also one that's like a mirror. I don't know if you've seen. I think is it called Mirror? And basically, it just there's like I don't know. It's like half mirror and half screen, and it just shows a guy lifting weights with you.
Oh, that's weird.
It's basically Peloton in a mirror. It's kind of creepy.
Yeah. No, I don't think we have that over here yet.
I did look into getting one of them Peloton things, but then I saw the price and swiftly closed the browser window.
How much is it?
It's like $2,000 just to get the basic bike.
Uh-huh.
And then you have to pay a subscription to get the live thing. And
okay, well, in that case, I've got an exercise bike to sell.
Exactly.
I bought one years ago, which is it's pretty great actually. It holds a lot of clothes, and I think I got it for about 150, 170, something like that. And YouTube's a thing, so if you want a video of some other people cycling, you can get that.
I did think about doing that. You could probably make your own quite easily.
It's very easily and a lot cheaper.
Yeah. I mean,
especially around. I don't know if you wait a month or so until everyone else has bought their bikes and then realize that they never use them. They're just kind of in the corner of the room, making them feel kind of guilty. You might be able to pick one up for pretty cheap.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just checking the price. Yeah, it does seem like it's like $2,000 for the bike over here, plus the all the bullshit that comes along with it, including like a $39 a month subscription fee.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. Just save that money, put it towards a car or something.
Yeah, much more healthy.
Yeah, so we're
save up for the gastric band. Like,
oh, there you go. Yeah.
Are we kidding? Cut out the middleman.
Fucking lipo shit that stuff away. It's like
for $2,000, surely you can get it done on the cheap and just just get it done now.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we're just kind of winging it here. I don't know. What would you guys?
Not that we don't wing it every other week.
I mean, that's true, but like typically there's somewhat of like a.
We normally do have some sort of format, you're right.
There's a week of wrestling through, whereas now we've got like a year of everything to go.
Yeah.
I was looking at things that happened in 2019. It turns out if you write in 2019 in anything, just blank, into Google, there's a wiki for everything.
Oh, really?
So I started out with 2019 in film. Figured I'd go for music just to see what happened in music this year. A few bands reformed. Pussycat Dolls reformed. Who knew? 2019 in television there. There was also 2019 in professional wrestling.
Wow.
And list of presidential trips made by Donald Trump in 2019.
God.
Where did he go? That's interesting.
Where did he go? Right. I'm glad you asked because that's exactly where I was going with it. He made...
I know he came here. That was interesting.
What's that?
I know he came here.
He did come here for a few days.
By here, I mean the UK, not to like Liverpool. That'd be weird.
He came to your place.
Me and the Donald hanging out.
Make a great photo. So he actually travels a lot. Like, for all the things you can say about the guy, and there are many. That trip, he came to the UK... let's see where it is. Was it June? Yeah, June 3rd to 5th. June 5th to 6th, he was in Ireland. June 6th, he was in France. And then right back in Ireland, June 6th to 7th. Then went back to the US. So, I mean, that's pretty heavy travel for a dude in his 70s. But he traveled all across the US. I want you to guess, if you can, which state he went to most.
State?
Which state of the US. Now, he made... 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 13. The state he visited most times was 34 visits.
Ooh.
Second was 13 visits. So there's one state he really loves. I don't know if you can guess which state that is.
I'll take a wild stab in it, only because I think it's like his headquarters, but I would say New York.
Oh, that's a good guess. I see what you're thinking, but
yeah.
he made 5 visits to New York.
Oh.
Where's the Where did they go on holiday? There's a place where they go, don't they? Like
Those Camp David, they're
that's the
not
one.
counted.
Okay.
Yeah.
Scratch that.
So they obviously don't include like Washington, DC.
I don't know. I'll check New York then. Go on, put me on imagery.
He made 34 visits to Virginia.
Oh God.
Mm-hmm.
Now I've looked up why he might go to Virginia quite so much.
They have good golf courses.
They have the best golf courses. No one knows golf courses better than Trump. He in fact went 6 times. It says here 30. What did it say? 34. I actually counted 35, but there's a list of all of the visits. 6 of them were on official business to places like the Pentagon. 24 I counted visits to what's it called? Trump Golf Course, Trump National Golf Club.
God.
He went to his own golf club, and apparently it counts as a state visit.
I mean, if it's located there, yeah.
Well, yeah. You'd think that would be time off; it wouldn't get counted. But there's also a list of people he played golf there with. Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe. Yeah, that's one of them. He played. Ah, God. No, that's just on his own. He went twice there, and again, twice there, twice there. He loves his golf club.
Sounds like it.
Can't believe you're mentioning Trump on the fucking best of the year show.
Yeah. Played with World Golf Hall of Famers Gary Player and Annika Sorensen.
God. We gotta put like a no politics on the on the program.
Fair enough. Let's get away from the Trump thing.
Can we do Brexit next?
Speaking of WWE Hall of Famers. Yeah, Brexit's a big thing that happened this year.
Yeah.
Boris Johnson re-elected.
Yeah.
Just to steer this back into wrestling here a little bit. Is there any like standout matches that you can think of off the top of your head that was like a match of the year candidate or anything like that?
There probably is, but I can't think of any.
Yeah, same.
I had a feeling this might come up, and I had the same problem. I know the best match of the year is probably something in New Japan, which I just haven't seen.
Right.
Yeah.
The one that really kind of springs to mind is that Cody Rhodes Dustin Rhodes match from was it Double or Nothing?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah.
That was awesome.
Yet there's no highlights or anything posted from AEW. I'd like to point that out for people to go back and watch it.
It's really hard to find that show.
It really is.
I went to Fight
it
TV,
really
and
is.
you know, I don't know how I'm supposed to watch it.
Even the I can tell you this: the underground wrestling scene that usually like logs like all the shows and programs and whatnot. That show is a rarity to find and locate to track down.
I must have it somewhere.
I'm sure somebody's got to have it somewhere. I feel, but yeah.
I mean, it's one of the biggest shows of the year. I can't believe it can't be hard to find kind of on the sneak, but doing things legit, it's nowhere.
It's nowhere. Yeah, it's not up. Like it's not uploaded for purchase. It's not rewatchable. They don't have like an AEW type of network yet. My immediate reaction just wants to say Bush League, you know.
In my opinion, yeah.
Yeah.
So okay, so it is there on the major torrent sites, but yeah, you go to whatever it is, BR Live or Fight TV, you can't get it.
Yeah,
so,
it's
you know,
so weird.
What does that tell you?
Yeah.
Crime pays.
In order to get what you want, you gotta break a couple of rules, apparently. Yeah. Well, just to narrow it down, what would instead of just like in wrestling, what would be your best match of the year for WWE? Just to make it
For
Oh,
WWE,
yeah.
Oh god. Yeah.
That's bad, isn't it?
Probably what I'm not thinking of, but
It would have to be on a takeover.
yeah.
Okay, that's
Yeah,
fair.
I'll go with that.
I was thinking maybe Becky Lynch winning the like becoming Becky 2 belts at WrestleMania.
That match sucked.
Yeah, that match
Okay.
wasn't great.
Never mind then. All right, that's.
As a moment, it was
I
pretty
was
cool.
I was trying to be diplomatic a little bit.
Yeah, no, don't bother with that.
Because there's a lot of matches that sucked, I feel.
Oh yeah. Let's see. So the first takeover of the year, Tommaso Ciampa beat Aleister Black. I don't remember the match, but I'm sure it was great. Gargano beat Ricochet. That sounds good. And this is what it's going to be, unfortunately. So yeah, that sounds like a good one. Gargano beat Adam Cole. 2 out of 3 falls, was that? I don't remember that. It's probably good.
What about like Adam Cole versus Daniel Bryan? That was another one I had in my as like a potential candidate.
Was that just on NXT TV?
No, on SmackDown. When
that one on SmackDown. Yeah, that was good.
Yeah,
That was a good one. I don't know match of the year, but it was a good one.
okay.
It's probably SmackDown match of the year.
Oh, that's all right. That's fine.
There we go. Got a
Gargano.
list
I have
of
to imagine
matches.
Cole and Gargano have to win it.
I'm totally stealing these from ProWrestling.com.
No, that's fine.
There's every time you mention that site, it makes me giggle. Sorry.
I know. So we got Adam Cole versus Johnny Gargano takeover.
Mm-hmm. They did that on 3 takeovers apparently.
Yeah.
So all 3 of those will be up there, I'm sure.
The Briscoe. No, wait a minute. Don't do RH.
Yeah.
Cody versus Dustin Rhodes. Yeah, we said that.
Yeah, having that one.
Moxley versus Omega, Full Gear. Yeah, I'll go with
That was the hardcore one, right?
that.
Yeah.
That was like a noteworthy match. It's like, would you say that the 98 Hell in a Cell was like a great match? It was historic.
I mean, I would say it was pretty great. I mean, it was
but kind of in its own weird way. I guess it kind of was.
Yeah, it was unique. People nearly
It's kind
died.
of difficult one. Well, yeah, exactly. It's difficult to kind of give it 5 stars, though. I don't know how many stars I would give that match. It was a spectacle.
I mean, if you were looking for like a shooter, technical submissions and all that, all that type of stuff and whatnot, it wasn't that. No, but at the same time, it didn't really need to be.
It's true. That would have been a pretty terrible match, I think, between those guys.
And also, it wasn't even the main event. That was the other thing. They still had like
That's
Austin
true.
versus, I think, Kane later on.
Kane in the First Blood.
Yeah.
And Mankind came back.
Yeah.
Came back for a run-in. No one ever brings that up.
Yeah, that gets buried somehow.
Yeah.
Oh, and Undertaker's foot not being 100% either. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Moxley Omega in that one. I think it's one that it's definitely more memorable than most. That's one that will stand out from 2019.
Yeah, it was worth it just to see Renee's reactions on Twitter Live. As it happened.
She wasn't happy.
Yeah. I don't know. It's hard to say with like 12 weeks of TV for AEW and like a few pay-per-views. What would be their best match? But I mean, I'm kind of just sticking with Cody and Dustin, but I think that death match, quote unquote, could be a number 2 in somebody's list. Not as I don't know if it would be mine. But
there was definitely at least 2 or 3 Lucha Brothers matches that I really loved as well.
Oh yeah.
But they're all so kind of crazy that they'll blur together.
Yeah, because nothing
The
really.
one against Jungle Boy and Marco Stunt was different, and I loved that. But again, I don't think I'd say that was like an amazing match for this whatever wrestling standard. It was just it was really fun.
Yeah, because there's nothing that really stands out. It's just like, and I think Jim Cornette mentioned this, and it was a very valid point. It's just like,
I'm sure it did.
Yeah, it's just high spot, high spot, high spot. No real storytelling about the match. It's just who can get like, their flips and shits over the most. In a way. And it's a valid point. Like, you just remember like some of the moves and whatnot. But where I disagree is that some people can enjoy that. It's just you probably won't remember it for like, say, a fucking best of the year rundown, if you will. Like, it may not make the best memorable match in terms of like what happened if you were to go back and detail the match breakdown by breakdown, but you could probably remember a move or two here and there, and I think with some people that's okay to them.
Yeah. Sometimes that's all it has to be. And those guys, especially Lucha Brothers and Young Bucks, I guess, they're great at that.
Yeah.
So fine, I guess. The funny thing with Cornette is that he was the manager of the Midnight Express. This is exactly the kind of thing that people used to say about them. That they were all high spots and, just action, and no psychology, didn't know how to work. He's saying the exact same thing again.
And also, there's was it Ricky Morton doing the tope suicida through the ring ropes as well?
Was great.
Like, just somehow gets ignored.
Yeah, I think that's my biggest problem with AEW as well, though, that too many guys are doing that. It's fine if you've got one tag team that are the flip guys. Yeah. But if that comes at the expense of being memorable and kind of getting over as a character, something long term, then maybe you shouldn't have a whole show full of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would like some better storytelling. That was something I saw, I think, what was it, No DQ on Twitter, posting something like, what would be 5 changes you would make to AEW? And
yeah,
I think mine were just like better storytelling, get rid of the kayfabe time limits for the matches.
I don't know. I quite like them.
I mean, if some people like them, that's fine. I hate them. I absolutely hate them. I don't need to hear Justin Roberts like 10 minutes has gone by, 10 minutes remain. Like every single match.
Yeah, I know what you mean. If they're gonna do that, I don't want them like a clock on the screen or something.
Yeah.
Don't need to be reminded every so often.
I mean, with I think before AEW went on break, they had that match between Jungle Boy and Jericho, the 10-minute time limit match.
Yeah.
Which that was pretty good for the fact of like, there was very subtle things like Jericho at the end put Jungle Boy in the walls of Jericho, but he did it facing. He was facing the clock, but Jungle Boy was not able to see it, so he couldn't like keep an eye on the time to outlast and all that, which I thought was very subtle ring psychology and whatnot. The other thing was, I mean, I can't remember the last time I've been clamoring for this for years, to have some sort of like on screen. Now technically it wasn't on screen the entire time; it was on their Tonytron, but like,
is that what we're going with?
That's what I'm calling it.
I like it.
Tonytron or the Contron.
The Contron.
Yeah, I think Tonytron has a little bit better ring to it, but they had it like throughout the entire match, the clock ticking down on the Tonytron, and you could just, I mean, granted you couldn't see it for the entire match, but they kept cutting to it to where you could see it, and everybody in the crowd could keep an eye on it. So that's something I've been wanting wrestling to have for like years now.
Yeah, it was like, I mean, the Royal Rumble, it's never 90 seconds between entrance to it.
No, that's pretty bad.
It's whenever they feel like. I mean, sometimes it makes sense because obviously things are happening. So sometimes it can make sense to hold off a little bit.
Yeah.
But then all the time you just think, why don't you just get someone out there? It's been 2 minutes.
Yeah, see,
But yeah.
I think the consistency is the problem for me. If they can do it one way the whole time, that's fine. I don't really care what they do as long as they stick to it, because that's how you make something happen out of it. If it's on the screen the whole time, I think it would be a bit too much. It would be distraction. But if it was there, then fine.
Yeah.
Okay, I can deal with it. I don't mind the way they do it now, but then I don't really like, that time when they had a Moxley match that was TV time remaining. If you're going to do a 20-minute limit, then that doesn't really work. TV time remaining, what's that about?
Time limit my ass.
Yeah, exactly. And the same goes for not win-loss records. What was the other consistency? Oh, the tag rule. Like, are you going to be strict about the tag rule? Do you have to hold the tag ropes and tag over the ropes, or can people just tag wherever they are? Because there's no consistency there either.
Yeah.
Yeah, true.
Some of the other things I suggested was just like stop making bad decisions that makes it look like you're TNA but with a budget. Have the side-by-side ads viewable on the TNT app and make wins and losses matter more, rather than just like, oh, they're in the power rankings. There's a graphic for them. There needs to be like some sort of like consequences, I feel, as opposed to just like, oh, Cody's here again. He's in a tag match up against the Butcher and the Blade. Only his partner is somebody else. No reason whatsoever because of this. It's...
Yeah. See, that's difficult because
50-50 booking again.
Yeah, you don't want that. And I agree on paper. But then UFC had that problem. When you have rankings, you have to stick to those rankings.
Yeah.
And that determines everything you do. Which means if there's a big match that you want to do and you can do, you can't do it. Especially with wrestling, it's about characters and stories, hopefully. And if there's a match that makes sense to do when it's what people want to see, but the guy is ranked number 5, then what do you do?
Yeah, I mean, I think for wrestling you could kind of make an exception to that. But
which is, I guess, kind of what they're doing. They're doing it as much as they can, but
that's the problem. Is that
can't go all the way with it.
Yeah, because they're doing it a lot.
I know what you mean.
Yeah,
and I've never really looked up those rankings they do. Is that actually based on anything? I just hear them talk about it every week.
Yeah. I think they just they post them on their website, I believe.
So someone just comes up with it.
I think it's based off of the like stuff that happens on Dynamite and Dark and all. That's another thing, by the way. If you're gonna,
I'll mention what happens on Dark.
Yeah, well,
yeah.
I feel like you gotta build an audience first. Like you can't expect people if you're the new kid on the block here, so to speak. You can't expect people to like automatically go to YouTube and check whatever alternative programming that you're putting out there as well. You kind of have to build an audience first, and then push on the AEW Dark, the being the elite or what have you, and all that other nonsense. Instead of just like putting storylines on either show and then expecting people to watch it.
Right. No one's watching the other stuff. If you're going to do something on Dark or being the elite, show us a quick recap, just something.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big one. And the same goes for the ad break picture-in-picture.
Yeah.
We can't hear what's going on. It looks sometimes like there's like interviews and actually fairly important stuff happening. Yeah. We need to know what happened.
I agree. No, they don't recap anything because of that. After a break or something, like this is what you missed during the commercial, everybody. But I think again part of that is because they're also I think during the break they're still calling the match live for the UK audience or other audiences that normally wouldn't have the break.
That's true.
Because JR
That's
would,
true.
yeah,
It really affects the show.
yeah.
Yeah.
JR would be like, "We'll be right back, folks," and then we're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which came off really confusing that one week. Also, going back off to the rankings here, this is the top 5 for right now. I had to zoom out of the page because the pictures are really large. But Moxley's number 1, Kenny Omega number 2, Pac 3, Cody number 4, and MJF number 5. Not really sure why Cody's number 4 are in there at all. I mean, I guess it kind of gives a little bit of legitimacy to the rankings.
He's
but
just a singles guy, yeah.
You can't really challenge for the title. And
okay, so we've got
MJF has had like 3 matches, 4 overall.
So that does kind of follow the standings. The guys with 5 wins are at the top, and then the guys with 4. Roughly.
Yeah, but like, is it really fair to put like the guys with like 5 wins up against the guys that have like, you know, MJF has only had like 3 matches, or 3 singles matches, I should say.
Right. So let's say a year from now, we've got Moxley still at the top, and he's 30-20 because they've just gone totally. Well, not 50-50. They've gone 60-40 booking with this guy. And then you've got, like, Goldberg debuts, and he's 10-0 and, like, totally dominant. Do you think that he can't be ranked high until he gets there? Because surely it's recent wins are more important than overall wins.
Yeah, that's also another thing, but, like... I don't know. I mean, a win's a win.
A win's a win.
Yeah.
But a win a year ago, I don't know, should put you in line for a title match today.
Yeah, I go with that.
So it kind of has to be, I think, weighted towards recent, like the last month or two. It kind of more of
I think it should be like
a ranking in terms of form than an overall.
Like a season reset?
No, like a rolling season reset where
Yeah.
it falls off the end after 6 months or something like that, you know?
Maybe that's where you keep like the overall, but like for the season singles and all this stuff, you know, you reset it. Yeah,
It's difficult, but again, if they come up with a system and stick to it, I'm fine. It doesn't matter what they do as long as it's the same forever.
Yeah.
Not like the Glory, what was it, the Bound for Glory series?
The BFG series, yeah.
The BFG series that just made no sense.
Where you get like more points for a DQ than a pin or something like that.
But again, if they just did that, that's fine. We know the rules going in. Everything is played to those rules. Even if it makes no sense, that's fine. It's when you say that everyone wrestles everyone else once, and then AJ and Chris Daniels have 4 matches, and they say, we didn't ever say that it was only going to be 1 match each.
Yeah.
Now, you've lost me now.
So you mentioned that from TNA. How much is an NXT Redemption point worth?
God.
Well, in Titus O'Neil's case, probably about 3 months of employment. he's still going.
NXT.
They even got a shout out this week. The old NXT.
Did he?
Yeah, Miz and Daniel Bryan, I think, within it was the number 1 contenders match, and they were mentioning these guys go way back to the original NXT, where they didn't say pro and rookie, they said like mentor or something like that.
The original NXT when it was shit.
Yeah.
When did that start? It was in the last 10 years. It must have been, mustn't it?
That's something we can bring up tonight on our end of decade review show. NXT Redemption. Let's see when that one was, because
that was the last one, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was season 5.
The never-ending one.
Original 2010, I guess. Oh, that's a can.
Yeah,
Oh.
can of Canada Dry
Nice.
with the orangeade.
Right. So first season began airing on Sci-Fi February 23rd, 2010.
Yeah. So it's
So we are
going
nearly
right to the beginning of the decade.
beginning. Wade Barrett, mentored by Chris Jericho, victorious.
They all became the Nexus, didn't they? The whole cast.
Mm-hmm. Who's surviving now out of this lot? Is David Otunga still employed?
Yes.
He's still there, yeah.
Yeah, he's
Still
Somehow.
there.
Oh, he's on the pre-shows.
Yeah.
Daniel Bryan is still there.
I think he's
Heath
actually
Slater's
working in WWE's legal department, generally. It's quite funny.
Okay, good luck with that.
Daniel Bryan and Heath Slater, the
He's got kids, you know.
survivors.
Yeah, he's Slate. I forgot about him. Yeah, he's not really seen much on TV.
Whatever happened to Michael Tarver?
He quit because he had to feed like 19 kids or something like that.
No, that's Heath Slater had all the kids.
Well, Tarver had a whole bunch of kids as well.
So he also wrestled for the Great Khali's Continental Wrestling Entertainment promotion, winning the national title in a ladder match on November 11th, 2018. He would have gone to lose the title 2 days later on the same tour.
Huh.
That's what we've got for Michael Tarver.
Wow.
So is everyone still there? I don't think he's not there anymore, is he? Ryback. Skip Sheffield.
Yep.
What did he do?
What was season 2? Was
Season 2.
Bray Wyatt was in
Three
season
was
2,
all the
wasn't
women.
Bray Wyatt was season 2, wasn't he?
Bray Wyatt was season 2, the
Husky
army
Harris.
tank with a Ferrari engine. Lucky Cannon was on that one, if I remember right, and Eli Cottonwood.
Yeah, of course.
The standouts on that. This promo about mustaches.
Well, didn't what was his WWE name? Caval.
Caval, yeah,
Low key.
he won it.
I'm all about that non-stop action. Well, first off, he's an idiot.
Yeah, so, and season 3 was the women, wasn't it? So
Yeah, that was where the commentary just got weird.
Yeah. Yeah, it sure did.
that was when Cole hated everything, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was actually really funny, I thought.
I really enjoyed it. It was great. Miss Axana. Let's bring back.
Excellent.
Yeah, she's kind of fallen off the radar too.
Yeah, she was great as Teddy Long's assistant. Remember, she was just flirting with Teddy Long the whole time.
Yeah.
Just playing like a gold digger character that never really went anywhere, and she would just make really subtle like hand job jokes the whole time. She went into his office once and said, like, "Do you need a hand with your job?" Someone once called her a whack job, and she said, "What me and Teddy do in our own time is no business of yours." What the hell?
Didn't Naomi come out of NXT?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah. and AJ, of course.
Yeah.
Gosh, yeah. And season 4 we got
That's where it all seemed to fall off a cliff.
yeah.
Yeah.
We got Conor O'Brien, Ratitude,
Oh god, yeah. Okay.
and Johnny Curtis and Derek Bateman, the
Derek
stars
Bateman.
of that show.
No use crying over spilled milk.
Didn't Saxton come out of that?
Byron Sexton was on
Yeah.
it, yeah.
Yeah.
And Jacob Novak was on it as well.
Also,
The
EC3.
least memorable of all of these.
Also, EC3 as well.
Yeah, Derek Bateman was back,
Derek Bateman,
back
yeah.
in his Zumba days.
Yeah. we've almost hit an hour here. We're about 40 minutes in so far.
Wow.
Yeah, we've killed a lot of time, believe it or not. Who would you say would be your wrestler of the decade? If I had to
Oh,
throw that out there.
PWI has done this based on all of their 500 rankings,
Oh God.
and who would you say it is? I think that's
Me personally,
yeah. Why not?
CM Punk
Of the decade,
of the decade.
even
Yeah.
though he quit in like
He
2014.
quit, and yet he was still able to keep himself relevant to where fans just chanted his name relentlessly, even though he wasn't with the company. He went to UFC. Still, I mean, he kind of floundered there and never really won. And
Well, he did good numbers.
he did good numbers. Still ended up, a fan favorite somehow. And now he's back in some capacity with WWE on as a Fox employee for a backstage, who just apparently just shits on the product and gets paid for it, which is if that's not a dream goal, I don't know what it is. So yeah, for me, it's CM Punk.
And years after quitting, he did like not just record numbers, but blew away like any numbers ever done before for a wrestling podcast.
Yeah.
Like he was so in demand that was huge, and it wasn't really anything. It wasn't promoted that hard. It was just a thing he did with Colt Cabana, Scotty Goldman,
which ended up ending a friendship years later.
Well, yeah. That's a difficult one though. He was only around for like 4 or 5 years of the decade, and I don't know that. I mean, you make a damn good case for him. It's difficult to argue. But I'd liken it to Steve Austin quit or retired in 2003, and his what chants have been, been ongoing ever since. I don't know that I would say he was the wrestler of that decade.
Well, Austin never really like reinvented himself or anything like that, to where he went to a different thing, and eventually came back to the company later on.
Well, he did the podcast. Yeah, that was into this decade.
Podcast, yeah.
You've just given me a clue, actually, or an idea. I was going to say John Cena.
Yeah.
But now you just said the word there, reinvented.
Yeah.
I'm going to say Jericho.
Jericho, yeah.
I mean, he's still relevant, and somehow he's still got it.
More than ever, I think. Probably more important now to his company and to the business than ever.
Especially when I thought initially, it was kind of going to be kind of a mistake if Jericho was going to win the AEW championship, and if anything, it's probably been the opposite of that. So he definitely proved me wrong.
Yeah.
And going back to the whole reinventing himself with the little bit of the bubbly, like.
It's not just that. I mean, look at his last WWE run. Probably one of his best ever.
Oh yeah, the list.
The list.
Yeah.
And then he's done it again. Reinvented
the lexicon.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I always forget which ones of his returns, what years they were. But there was one that he did those creepy vignettes that were obviously for Sting, and then it was just him. And he showed up and didn't say anything for 4 weeks. He would just come out and go, yeah, and like get people chanting, and then walk off again.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
So that was this decade. That was kind of good. With the lights on his jacket. That was him.
Yeah.
PWI says that the wrestler of the decade, based on rankings over the last 10 years, is AJ Styles.
You know what? I wouldn't have that big of an issue with it, considering he, the original house that he built was in TNA, in the Impact Zone. He got out of there because they were dumb enough. Fucking Dixie and John Gaburek at the time, probably with the talent relations. Yeah, it shows you how smart he was. Couldn't fucking come to a deal with him. And
I think he wanted to go anyway. He had 2 great years in New Japan after that.
Yeah.
And when he left TNA, WWE didn't care at all.
Right.
2 years later, after his New Japan stuff, they wanted him.
Yeah.
So, says it all there. And they weren't going to use him. He was going to be a mid-card whatever guy there until however 6-9 months in, he got himself over, and now he's one of their biggest stars.
Yeah, it's hard to argue that. That's honestly a pretty good clip or pick. Sorry, not clip.
Yeah. Speaking of New Japan, Okada has had an incredible few years.
I've heard a lot of people say that he's probably going to be running for the decade. Yeah.
Realistically, he probably is, but he's just not very well known here. Kenny Omega for the last 5 years, I guess, made a huge name for himself.
No.
No?
After becoming familiar with his work in AEW, no.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say he's bad, but he's definitely not up there for the decade.
I would not even put him anywhere close to the wrestler of the decade personally. I'm sure he's
has been around.
I'm sure he's a nice guy and all that. It's just that's my personal take on it. Sorry.
Has been around for 10 years now, and that's actually had kind of an understated but massive impact on the industry.
Triple H.
Well, yeah, for sure. But I was going to say the Young Bucks.
If they didn't completely wuss out of Twitter, I might agree with you.
Oh, that's going to ruin the whole decade.
I mean, their whole spiel was knocking people apparently on Twitter whenever something clown choosy would happen, and then the moment they are in a promotion that they're currently trying to promote, build, get off the ground, they kind of can't take the heat, so they're just going to go off of Twitter to Instagram, which, let's pretend Instagram just isn't as toxic as Twitter.
Well,
if you ask me.
Yeah, that's not great, but I don't think it diminishes what they've done.
True. I don't think it diminishes what they've done either. I just think it's a little bit of it's kind of like a blemish, if you will, like a fresh.
It's pretty weak.
Yeah. But it doesn't, like I said, it doesn't bring it down the other side. There are another ones that's another group that started in TNA and were able to make it in Japan and make a name for themselves, infringing a couple of trademarks here and there. Too sweet me, bro. Come on.
Oh yeah. I got you. For life. What else have we got here? Adam Cole, Finn Balor. Now these are big enough names. Baby.
Will, I'm surprised you didn't put the Britt Baker looking on during the intro.
Oh yeah.
That would have been great.
What else we got for this decade? Randy Orton? No. Consistent.
I think he deserves. He's not nowhere near best of the decade, but I think he deserves a bit of credit for still being where he is.
Yeah.
As you say, he's consistent. Nothing else.
Say that about the Miz as well.
Definitely, I think the Miz is. I've said this for a while. I think he's underrated. I think he deserves a lot more than he gets.
I don't know. Let's not go overboard. He's still the Miz.
Yeah.
No, I've always been a big Miz fan. I know when he was WWE champion, he wasn't. No one really liked it, but I don't see why he shouldn't be in the picture again. I know he kind of is, but he's not really.
I don't know why he couldn't fucking beat Shane McMahon clean, but.
Well, this whole debate's irrelevant anyway. You just said Shane McMahon's the best in the world, so.
He's still the best in the world. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
He beat everyone.
He couldn't beat Shane McMahon. Honestly, like pretty much, there's no reason to pick Miz in like a pay-per-view match from here on forward in the prediction game. If you ask me. Couldn't beat Shane McMahon. Couldn't beat Bray Wyatt. Not even the Fiend.
You're right in what you're saying, but I don't get why they book him like that.
No, the booking's horrendous.
He's such a he's seen them mark too in terms of what he does for the company. He does everything they ask of him.
Yeah, and speaking of, that's probably another. If I had to pick if there was like a candidate for like worst match of the year, that's probably one of them. Was Bray Wyatt, non-Fiend Bray Wyatt against the Miz.
Oh yeah.
Where they're building this whole thing where Bray Wyatt's trying to play psychological games with Miz's family. Miz, when it's time for the match, is still doing his Miz antics to the ring.
Yeah.
Isn't, really showing any signs of aggression while Bray Wyatt's coming out all happy-go-lucky, jovial, messing with the announcers, all that stuff. Everything about that match was awful.
It was a terrible match, but it was oddly fascinating at the same time.
Yeah.
Just to see what was going to happen.
Wow.
But yeah, I know where you're coming from now.
So.
Daniel Bryan, Wrestler of the Decade.
He's definitely got to be in there, for sure. Like, he had an injury, a career-ending injury, and somehow was able to convince the company that, hey, he's better now.
See, that's why I wouldn't give him that title, because he was off for a while. I know that's not his fault, don't get me wrong.
I mean, I gave it to CM Punk.
CM Punk. I was going to say,
true.
I don't know anyone got more popular than Daniel Bryan this decade, except for maybe CM Punk, and both of them have that issue.
Yeah.
And
he's another one that kind of reinvents himself all the time.
Yeah, maybe a little more subtly than Jericho, but yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
What about the kind of legend? I guess Triple H hasn't been around enough. Undertaker, definitely not.
Batista?
It's not really many. Yeah. How many matches have Batista had?
Oh, I don't know. Didn't he kind of retire near, I want to say 2010, 2011?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
It was around the whole duct tape shenanigans.
Yeah.
Are you serious? Are you kidding me? Duct tape? Really?
And it's WrestleMania 20. Oh, let me get this right. Is it 28? The Rock and Cena one that was huge, 27. That was just this decade.
Once in a lifetime.
Once in a lifetime. Yeah.
It happened to be twice in a lifetime.
The biggest match there's ever been in terms of buy rate.
Yeah, I don't know.
You could give it to The Rock.
Could.
Wrestler of the 2010s.
Could. He also had that Survivor Series
He's subtly
match.
retired.
Yeah, he also had that.
Oh, yeah.
Never before, never again. Where they blamed the shit out of Miz and R-Truth for having that match as a stinker.
Well, it was pretty bad. And then he did retire this year. That's another noteworthy thing. He said he quietly retired this year. So his final match will always be with Eric Rowan.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't buy that retired business. He'll be back.
He seems to genuinely love it, so you never know.
Didn't he get divorced?
I thought he got married.
Yeah, I think he got married.
Let me see here.
I know he got divorced a couple of years ago, and it's a weird thing is his manager's actually his ex.
Yeah, right. They're still good friends, and they've got
Yeah.
I'm still not totally convinced he's not gay, to be honest. There's always been that rumor.
It must be all the innuendos, I guess.
The people strudel, yeah.
Yeah, whatever. I don't know. There's a lot of contenders for Wrestler of the Decade, if you ask me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I definitely don't have a problem with Punk. Obviously, Jericho's a pretty good one. AJ Styles is a really good one. Daniel Bryan for sure. Um,
If you had to pick one,
oh, CM Punk.
You say that with such confidence.
Yeah.
I know.
I still think there could like if he and WWE would ever see eye to eye again, and could like come to terms with like a mega match, which they would probably be. It would probably be something like CM Punk versus Baron Corbin at this rate. But
Right, it definitely would.
I mean, even he could probably make that match into gold or somewhat interesting. I feel if he was going up against somebody like a Baron Corbin, you know, that's the thing about it.
But they did that with Daniel Bryan. He came back after all those years, and they put him with Big Cass, and it didn't work. Even Daniel Bryan, it cooled him off significantly.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It would have to be. It'd have to be someone that could kind of go, in the promo back and forth.
Yeah.
I don't know if.
Because he kind of just.
No, I mean someone with Punk. I mean Punk
Right.
will blow anyone away, and that's the problem.
Yeah, because he
You
kind
put
of
Punk in there with Baron Corbin, and it's not going to work.
No,
and in the ring, it's going to be even worse.
Yeah,
Seth Rollins, maybe.
Oh, no, not Seth Rollins. No.
Mm.
The ship has sailed on Seth Rollins. I couldn't give a fuck about what he does in the ring, out of the ring.
Roman Reigns.
Yeah, you're right. He is the new Roman Reigns.
Or the new Charlotte Flair. I lose track of which one's the current one.
Oh, God. Like, that's a story for another time. It's just how painfully mediocre Seth Rollins is now. And like trying to reincarnate like a Shield 2.0 doesn't help matters with like banding himself with the AOP.
Yeah, it's less of a Shield 2.0, more of a J&J Security 2.0.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Either way.
Yeah, I'm not really a fan.
But yeah, the thing with Punk is like he could just like talk as much shit on the mic as he wants and just not give a fuck. Because what are they gonna do? Fire him? He's just gonna go back to where he is currently. That's the thing. That's the thing about it.
Well, they're not gonna fire him. They're just gonna book him. Well, they're gonna book him really badly anyway. What the hell?
Yeah. So to the point where he's gonna walk out again? Like what?
Well, yeah, exactly. Then fire him again on his birthday this time. Or...
People don't learn from their mistakes; or doomed to repeat it, or something like that. Like come on.
Well, who are you talking about here? WWE or CM Punk?
Either one.
Either one is happy with each other.
Yeah.
I just think the whole place is doom.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything or anyone that could save it without a hell of a lot of work over a long period of time.
Yeah.
Punk going would be huge for one show, and it would fall off. Like the same way that they built up the network debuts. They built up the draft shows, and they did good numbers for 1 week, and no one stuck around. Interest just isn't there.
I think that's a fair thing to say. They would need something to like. I don't know how you would hook people. That's the thing. And I'll tell you this: it damn sure isn't Vince Russo's free advice that he's currently trying to bill to AEW until December 31st. He was trying to. I'm not sure if you heard, but like he's been trying to really like. All right, I'm following you, Cody Rhodes and Tony Khan, bro, and I'm gonna give you free advice, bros. But it's only good until the 31st. Hit me up. Slide in my DMs, bro. Like he was legit like trying to advocate probably he was trying to get himself a job in AEW probably under this umbrella of free advice. And I'm hoping they don't listen to him.
I don't know that AEW is the place. I think his voice in the WWE writers' room could work because there's so many of them. And like, if you have one guy with some like wacky idea, it might get kind of filtered down a little bit. And, it might not be quite as off the rails. But in AEW, it seems like there's a lot less of that going on. And if he was given any kind of control, then
they're trying to grow a brand in AEW, not destroy it.
Yeah, right.
I mean, if Russo's
some of the ideas he has, he's great at starting a story,
right?
At coming up with something different, but he never sees it through. So if somehow he could come up with some ideas and then just hand it off to the writing team to actually turn into something real, you could do a lot worse, I think.
Yeah.
At this point, like, what have you got to lose?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that was something about with I think it was either Angelina Love or Velvet Sky of the Beautiful People. So like one thing that they really liked about how, and I could be wrong on that for the record.
Well, he loves Velvet Sky. I know that much. He's a huge fan of her. He says she's the nicest person he's ever met.
Right. But if memory serves me right, and it doesn't always do that, one of them said something like one thing that they appreciated him the most is how he always was able to like find something for everybody.
Yeah.
Even if it wasn't like the greatest gimmick imaginable. Maybe it was Dixie. Maybe that seems like more of a Dixie Carter line.
A lot of people say that about him. Yeah. It's usually the undercard guys like a Sanjay Dutt or whatever who like wouldn't have been doing anything otherwise.
Yeah.
But they all seem to appreciate that he had time for everyone, and even if you weren't featured, you had something to kind of focus on. Which again, is true. If you get everyone on the roster over like a little bit, just you could be familiar with who everyone is. Yeah. That would really help with AEW.
That, but also like doing some like isolated video packages on characters, I feel could help, and not just Britt Baker when she's in her hometown.
Right. Yeah. And not just for 1 week and then forget about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I think there's a place in wrestling for Vince Russo. I don't know where it is. But
I don't know if I would venture that far.
Yeah.
That's a kind of a bold proclamation.
He just seems to understand better than anyone else that pro wrestling is best when it caters to the common fan, like not trying to be more than it is, and actually is a bit lowbrow.
Yeah, that I can agree.
Oh, and he gets that. He says, "I don't really care about the hardcore fans," which boo Vince Russo for saying that. He says he wants the biggest fan base he can get, cater to everyone, grow the ratings, get it out there, get everyone watching.
At the same time, I wouldn't be surprised if he came up with the same outcome for the Bobby Lashley Lana wedding, which if we're doing a Saturday show,
but that's
we'll get into.
Relatively.
We'll get into that on Saturday.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, on paper, you could probably say that there could be somebody like a Vince Russo that tries to target to everybody, make everybody inclusive in watching and whatnot, for sure. But I don't know how practical it is executing that out, and I don't know. It
would be,
I don't know if you just end up with the same current situation that we're in right now, where wrestling is kind of stagnant and kind of not on the up and up right now. Not many people.
Well, if the problem right now is we've got 30 writers and no direction, then adding Vince Russo isn't a solution. It's just adding to the problem to get you there.
Yeah,
you're definitely not wrong. But yeah, just a big change needs to be made, and he is the big change guy.
For sure. So
I don't know.
So for 2020, before we get out of here, we'll end this on.
Oh, I think I know where you're going.
Do you have any bold predictions for this year?
In terms of things that will happen, or
well, yeah, that's what makes it a prediction.
Sure. Doesn't even really matches or returns.
Anything.
Go for it.
Anything you want to.
Whatever you got. WrestleMania
Sure.
card. What are the big matches at WrestleMania going to be? Who's the Fiend got? Is it Roman Reigns?
Could
Yeah.
no? Could it not be? Can my prediction be not Bray Wyatt or the Fiend versus Roman Reigns? At
Braun
WrestleMania?
Strowman. It could be Strowman.
No, they've really cooled down on Strowman.
Yeah.
Oh,
I think
well.
it's too soon to beat the Fiend, though.
Slightly closer to time, who's win the Rumble?
It's even that. By now, we've usually got a really good idea of who's
Yeah,
going to.
that's what I'm thinking.
I mean, if they're
I think-
well, supposedly they're doing 2 Rumbles with the women and the men's and all that. I assume.
Well, sure.
Yeah, I think even that one is doing that.
But if it's like 10 Raw, 10 SmackDown, 10 NXT.
Could we see the first Rumble winner challenging for the NXT title?
Ooh, that'd be something. Charlotte wins it, and she's like, "Finally, I'm free. I'm back in NXT."
I want Rhea Ripley,
Yeah.
which would probably be better than anything else they could do.
Yeah,
What else have we got? I think Lesnar and Fiend carrying to WrestleMania.
Think so?
Yeah, especially Fiend. And I don't. If Lesnar doesn't do that, I don't know what else you do with him. So I'm going to say they go through. So the Rumble winner has to challenge one of them. So it's either going to be Reigns or who's got Lesnar? Who's the big babyface on Raw right now? Kevin Owens. That's Kevin Owens. It could be Samoa Joe, you know.
Yeah, they seem to be slightly tearing Joe, don't they?
Well, I was gonna be like,
Maybe
"Hey,
it's-
this would be my bold prediction," but it's not gonna come true. I was gonna
Yeah.
say something like
Maybe
Samoa Joe could be like Raw champion. Like what's the belt on Raw? The WWE title?
Yeah, it is now. Yeah,
Yeah,
by the end of the year.
by the end of the year, sure, why not? That'll be my bold prediction.
maybe they finally give Strowman a go.
They're kind of lining him up for an IC title shot. It seems like.
I don't know. They occasionally do that with the IC title.
Yeah.
Just like have the big names going for it, like they did with is
Oh, he's
Randy
SmackDown,
Orton and
hasn't
AJ
he?
right now, and they did it with Seth Rollins a little bit with the US.
Mm. Yeah, Strowman's SmackDown now, anyway, so he won't be Lesnar, will he?
No, he would be Fiend, and I think there's a good chance it's either going to be Reigns or the Fiend, or Strowman.
Yeah.
Reigns or Strowman.
I would say another bold prediction would probably be saying that I think it would be Braun Strowman will be a champion
That's less bold.
this year, perhaps. I don't know.
How old is Nicholas now? Has he been in training?
Forgot about that. Yeah. Been eating his Wheaties, I guess. I don't know. It's really hard to just like look into the future and just be like, you know what, this is gonna happen.
Going back to Mania, apparently Cena wants to do something substantial. Whatever that means.
Well, he's already done the Reigns match.
Apparently he lives in Tampa, so he wants it to be a big thing. So, hello.
End Hogan's career.
Maybe.
Hogan, you know what? Hogan
If
Austin
only.
in Saudi Arabia, or Austin Goldberg in Saudi Arabia. Austin returns in Saudi Arabia. That's my prediction.
I was going to say, there's a prediction. Which former superstar comes out of retirement for Saudi Arabia?
Yeah, I got that. Oh, my bold prediction. I don't think it can be considered bold, but any match that Triple H has on pay-per-view will be the longest match on that pay-per-view.
Oh my god.
I maybe. I don't think I think he's done unless I don't see what else he'd come out of retirement for. Can't see it.
put someone over from NXT. I guess we put over Johnny Gargano or something.
Unless it's a bit out there, but CM Punk.
Oh God!
No.
Imagine
No.
they finally get Punk back, and they're like, oh, "Guess what? Guess what we've got for you? You're gonna love it."
God. If that happens, there's gonna be like potatoes. I feel in that match.
Yeah.
Like straight up potatoes. What about you, Will? Any bold prediction for the new year?
I'd say it's not really a bold prediction. I think everyone said it, but CM Punk will be back in action.
Really? So you think this will be the year where CM Punk is going to be out of the backstage chair and into the ring?
Definitely. I'd say
Wow.
that leaked. There was it wasn't leaked. It was Photoshop of I think it was him and AJ against Seth and Becky.
Huh.
I can see that, man.
Yeah, I mean, for the
I
right
just think that match is such a bad idea. Mixed tags are so
Oh, it
bad.
is. It's ridiculous, but
for the right price, though.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, yeah, it's not so much that they wouldn't do it. I just think that's not the match anyone wants to see with any of those guys.
Also, Will, do you think that match would or would not happen in Saudi Arabia?
No, there's women involved. Do not like women.
Okay.
You think Punk would do Saudi Arabia? He seems pretty principled. Daniel Bryan won't do it. You know?
No.
I think Punk's a smart enough guy to stay out of Saudi Arabia.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. Well, he showed he doesn't care about the money so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you might be right. Right. I was going to say one of the easy predictions I think would have been that Raw does under 2 million. But I think they've just done that. They missed out on that one by a week.
Oh, maybe under 1 million. How about that?
Oh.
That would be bold.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe like when football season starts up, could they drop to 1.5?
Supposedly, this was like one of the best years for Monday Night Football. This past season of it in 2019.
Yeah, apparently so.
So
Speaking of which, any XFL predictions?
It's a total disaster.
Total
it's
disaster.
A total debacle. I would say it probably. I don't know, the opening day of the original XFL it kind of
it was really big, wasn't it?
It was big, but it was
really big.
Really?
It's really big, people, really big. It was significant because it was on. I had to attend a funeral thing. Which, honestly, looking back on that, it was kind of like foreshadowing, I feel. I would say for XFL, it probably lasts more than a season, I would hope.
Apparently, Vince has put in the 3 seasons worth of money. Like, he's just going to keep it rolling whether it works or not.
Yeah, and also, according to like a stockholder, they're suing him for meddling with WWE money and XFL stuff. Or whatever.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
God. Okay,
yeah,
so it's already off on a bad foot.
Yeah. So that's why I said that, like, maybe if it lasts more than a season, which would be longer than its original tenure.
Yeah.
It's kind of bold, so.
Do they mention it on WWE?
I imagine so.
I don't think they will.
No. If they're getting sued, or if a fucking investor's suing them right now, I don't think they're going to mention it on TV.
I think they'll want to keep it as far away from it as possible. Just in case it goes down the pan again.
Yeah. But I don't know how you do that when you have a team named the Vipers. Like, that's just asking for Randy Orton to show up or be a mascot. Their mascot is literally just like an over elaborate Randy Orton costume. Goes around pooping in bags or something.
That was last decade. What you?
Yeah.
You go.
No, last decade was not wanting to shake his hand. Allegedly. Anyway.
Right. Other predictions. I've got Trump being re-elected.
Oh my god.
We had to go back there. Go full circle.
Honestly, I mean, I hate to bring up politics, but like, if the Democrats don't get their shit together, I could honestly see that happening.
There's no sign of them doing it, is there? They just keep going crazier.
Yeah, Joe Biden's calling people fat. You have the one guy that wants to give everybody money, and then Bernie Sanders, who just, to me, is just old. But
well, yeah,
I don't know. I think I would rather have Bernie or the Yang Gang guy in the White House than another term of Trump. That's my personal belief. Sorry to impose my personal opinion on that. We gotta not bring politics up on the show. Chucks, god damn it.
Hey, it's my bold prediction. Trump winning.
Oh my god.
I think he doesn't win.
He doesn't win.
Go.
It doesn't win, and they'll have him back on WWE TV doing something.
Yeah. They finally mention him again.
They won't resist him not having the former president on Raw or something.
Yeah, I can see that happening.
Well, he could be he is the first. What was it? The first Hall of Famer to be impeached.
God.
I guess that's true.
Ronda Rousey, she coming back.
Who's that?
Ronda Rousey.
Ronda Rousey.
Who?
Ronda Rousey.
Never heard of her.
Yeah, who's that? I don't know. Is she having that kid or what? She seemed to take time off because she wanted to have some kids. But
yeah, she's taking time out.
She said on Total Divas in that one ad, no one really retires from WWE. So.
I'm only mentioning her name because she's on my telly. So.
Oh well, yeah.
I don't know what it is, but she's on.
Yeah.
WrestleMania's greatest moments.
Is there anything else you guys want to add before we get out of here for the first show of the new year?
2K21, will it be as shit as 2K20? A serious point. Will there be a 2K21?
Yeah, they will.
Yes.
They make good money on them.
Yes.
And they are going to have to work real hard to make sure it's not as bad.
Yeah.
They know that they messed up on that one.
Yeah. For real. If it's back-to-back clunkers or shit games, then I would say it's over. I would say WWE would look elsewhere besides 2K Publishing to or maybe even Ukes, maybe a different developer. If you ask me.
It wouldn't be such a bad idea, you know.
Yeah.
Shaking things up there as well. Those games haven't been great for a long time.
It's going to be interesting this year because planning on getting the AEW game as well. So.
Oh yeah.
Let's see what happens.
People will have an alternative.
It's gonna be like that one Midway TNA game that looks really awesome.
God, that was so bad.
Was it? Did it play awful?
I couldn't work out the controls. I just couldn't work out how to pin people.
So it looked really good, but functionally it just didn't.
They just didn't make it obvious what you had to do. As cool as it was to be Suicide for a while.
Yeah, I don't think I played it. It looked really good though, but yeah. Obviously it wasn't.
Alright, well, I think I'll wrap it up for us. Hopefully we'll have Beans on Saturday, which will be our normal show. We'll talk about probably more in depth on WWE 2K20 being... you know what? That's going to be my bold prediction. On Saturday, WWE 2K20 is going to be functional. You can actually load up the game without it crashing. That's my bold
Apparently you have to do is set your system clock back by a day, and then it'll work.
Alright, it'll be patched by Saturday. How about that?
Yeah. Oh god, I hope so.
We'll talk about that. We'll talk about the Lana Lashley wedding stuff, which, oh
Do we have
boy,
to?
I mean we don't have to, but it's a talking point. And plus, whatever happens, whatever dumb shit on SmackDown's gonna happen. Yeah, so we'll see you then. Hopefully, we'll have Beans here with us. Hopefully, he'll keep like. Honestly, he kind of pieced out. He was like, "All right, sorry guys, can't do it." And then I look on Twitter. He like promoted his website like 10, 15 minutes ago. I was like, "You son of a gun!"
You bastard.
Maybe it was a scheduled tweet.
Oh, you know what? Maybe it was. Maybe it
At
was.
like 12:30 or whatever.
Yeah.
If anyone is actually listening to this, which I don't think they do, but anyone in the UK watching SmackDown, it's now moved to BT Sport.
That's right.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
So it's now on BT. So don't be looking on Sky because you won't find it.
Yeah. New era for the UK viewers.
Yeah.
See what happens with that.
I've actually
go ahead.
noticed they are showing BT Sport as of today. Obviously, to be in the 1st January. They showing some network shows.
Oh,
They're doing the WWE 24 for Kofi and Becky.
oh nice.
And I think right now they're showing WrestleMania's greatest moments.
Oh, there you go.
So, they didn't actually announce this, but they announced it yesterday or the day before yesterday. They will be showing NXT live every Wednesday.
Oh wow.
Which is a nice addition because of that we didn't get that before. So yeah, well done BT so far.
Yeah. Nice. All right. Yeah, that's gonna be it for us. We'll see you Saturday. Have a happy New Year and stay safe and stay well, everybody. Good night.